When we last talked a couple of months ago, Omicron was at the absolute peak. Cases were sky high, but we were able to predict that cases were about to plummet based upon what had happened in Europe. And fortunately, we were right. While there continues to be problems in Western Europe and a recent uptick in cases, as we sit here today, we're in the best clinical situation that we've been in for a long time. Case counts among staff and among residents remain really low. Hospitalizations and deaths, fortunately, are very low. And on the clinical side, things are actually pretty good. Unfortunately, on the business side, things have never been tougher. And it's really a double whammy of low census and sky-high labor cost when, in fact, we can find labor. On top of that, we now face a new problem. And the new problem is really horrible public policy ideas. There have been bipartisan mistakes by politicians for the last couple of years. Both Republicans and Democrats have made terrible decisions relating to us, and now they're starting to point fingers. After denying us personal protective equipment, after denying us testing, after sometimes not prioritizing our residents, some governors even sending COVID positive people into our buildings, some of them are now blaming us. Even the president in his recent State of the Union speech mentioned us, and while his comments were pretty mild, the rhetoric in an accompanying press release were not mild. They were offensive. Some people have looked at the COVID pandemic and have come up with the brilliant idea that the right policy response is to increase fines on nursing homes. It's just ridiculous. While it is true that tens of thousands of people died in nursing homes and assisted living buildings over the last 2 years, study after study has demonstrated that it's not our fault. The studies continually show that community spread of COVID, politicians not making the right decisions to keep COVID low in communities, is what's caused the spread in nursing homes. It's absolutely not our fault at all. But this hasn't stopped them from making all sorts of proposals that could negatively affect our residents and negatively affect our businesses. So the question is, what do we do now? Do we throw up our hands and quit? Do we give up? Or do we fight on? And obviously the answer is that we fight on. Just as you have fought in your buildings for the last couple of years for the residents and for your employees, now we have to fight these ideas in the state capitals and on Capitol Hill. And we will prevail on this, but we will only prevail if we work together and if we work really, really hard. So I'm here today to ask a favor. We're specifically asking you to consider doing two things to help us out. The first is to come to DC. Congressional briefing this year is scheduled for June 6th and June 7th. I think it's the most important congressional briefing in nursing home history. And that's because it will give us an opportunity to have hundreds of you here telling our story to the members of Congress that it's not our fault, that we are committed to quality, that more fines and regulations won't do anything but make matters worse. We need you to come to DC to give that message. And the second thing we need you to consider doing is to submit comments to CMS when we need them. The proposals that have been announced will be rolled out slowly over the next year or two, but the offensive ones, the terrible ideas, deserve a massive response from the sector. So CMS, HHS, and the administration can understand how bad some of these ideas actually are. Now, you may wonder, can we really change things? Will any of this make a difference? And I would just ask you to remember two different campaigns that we ran. Back during the Obama administration, towards the end of his term, they released a multi-hundred-page requirements of participation document that would have imposed thousands of new regs on us. We responded in a significant way. We submitted over 13,000 comments to the requirements of participation. Think about that. There's only 15,000 nursing homes in the United States, and we had 13,000 comments. And while we didn't completely stop that proposal, it certainly slowed it down and shaped it in a way that made it much better. Most recently, just last August, when the administration announced a vaccine mandate that would apply only to nursing homes, several thousand of you responded with comments within just a few days. And shortly after those thousands of comments were filed, we got a call from the White House that we had changed their mind on this issue. So you and we together can absolutely make a difference, both by coming to DC and by submitting large amount of comments to these proposals as they develop. I know it's been a really tough 2 years, and I know it would be easy just to quit. but our residents and our staffs are counting on us to continue to fight, and we know that you will. There's a really great Winston Churchill quote where he talks about what do you do during tough times. And what he said was, when you're going through hell, keep going. Think about that. When you're going through hell, keep going. Because if you stop, you just burn up. You got to keep going. And that's where we're at right now. We've been fighting this for a couple of years. I really think this is our year of recovery. Together, we will get past these policy ideas and we will be on to better times. And you can count on the fact that all of us back here at AHCA won't quit, because we know you won't quit. And we're looking forward to seeing hundreds of you in DC in June for congressional briefing and working with thousands of you on comments as we prevail over this most recent challenge. Thank you so much for your support, and most important, thanks to you and your teams for everything that you are doing in your buildings.